That steel curtain. And once again, it's a different era. But I would go with Noel.
Here's one of the big things of why I would maybe think Belichick is look at that to count the Hall of Famers he had playing on those 4 Super Bowl teams. Did Chuck know? I mean, we're talking close to double digits, aren't we? Of Hall of Famers from that team.
I mean,
he did that with double. Bill Belichick, count the Hall of Famers he's had under his team. How many are there going to be? Tom, Gronk certainly going that way. Who else? I mean, who else?
Off the top of my head.
Yeah, off the top of your head. Vinatieri, okay, I'll give you that.
Who is, by the way, on this team. He's the only active player who is on this list. That's it. Adam Vinatieri. That's it.
Okay, so him. So I guess from a coaching standpoint, I wonder if that would be a difference then that Chuck Noll coached a ton of future Hall of Famers and Bill Belichick did not.
Look, these lists are so difficult to put together.
They are. I love the list they did, though. I love the fact that they did it. I really do.
Did you see where ESPN.com also put together the 50 greatest players to ever play in the Super Bowl?
Yes.
When you get that assignment, good luck.
Good luck is right.
I mean, how in the world can you separate Charles Haley, who's got 5, right, from Jack Lambert?
Right.
I mean, it's these
that
things
list,
are
if you
so
haven't got it, we'll get it printed up because I wouldn't mind going through that. Maybe it's something we'll do next week as well. I love the list. And, I mean, you look at that list and you think, who maybe could they have left off that list? Obviously, it's a very, very powerful list.
Where Mike Sando ranked every player playing in this Super Bowl from 1 to 106.
Yeah, I had Peyton at 22, I saw. Yeah.
Chris Harris at 18, but still, good luck with that assignment also. Of course, knowing Sando, he probably enjoyed the heck out of it. Bubba?
I was a little surprised they didn't go with Troy Aikman, but, I mean, what do I know? Jed York won't hire a coach from his alma mater, which is Notre Dame. Love it or shove it.
And he said because he loves Notre Dame, he doesn't ever want to take their coach away.
Yeah, this is the quote. This is in no way disrespectful to Brian Kelly. I would never hire the coach from Notre Dame, ever. That's my opinion. I would never do that to my alma mater. That would never happen. I think a lot of Brian Kelly. I think he's a hell of a coach. But I would never take a coach away from my alma mater. So if you read the headline, you get one feel.
Right.
You hear the complete context. I love it.
That's why I wanted to hear that quote. And you love it from the aspect of he loves his alma mater enough to not make them go through a coaching search and go through that again. But, from the business side, if you thought that the coach at Notre Dame and you had an open spot and the coach from Notre Dame you really thought was going to help you the most, there are those on the business side that will say you got to do it. You have to bring in the head coach that you feel is going to help your team the most. And if it was the Notre Dame head coach, then you should do it.
Brian Kelly's sitting there going, come on, Jed, what's up, man?
I love it just for the fact that you love a guy with love for his school like that said he doesn't want to do that to his school. And not just because it's my school as well, but if he felt if he went to a different school and said the same thing, you kind of love that a guy digging his alma mater that much. So I love it as well.
This is the guy that hired Jim Tomsula. Too bad he wasn't the coach of Notre Dame. Is that right?
Jim Tomsula made.
That's for the boys in the booth right there.
Jim Tomsula made $14 million in 1 year of head coaching.
Let me tell you something. That's a good year. That's a good year, Bubba. We love it.
The NFL should go to Vegas. Love it or shove it.
Well, this may turn into a larger topic to talk about, but Al Davis' son, Mark Davis, who's running the team right now, has a meeting in Las Vegas. They're talking about $1 billion stadium right by UNLV, would be domed. There's 42 acres available there. And then everything that comes with it. Vegas, gambling, NFL. I mean, open up Pandora's box. For those that want it open, I have been on record, Greeny has been on record, they should legalize the gambling of sports. I don't know why it's not. I think it's ridiculous that it is not. So I would have no problem with this at all if a pro team ended up in Las Vegas. Zero issue at all.
Don't care which league it is, if it's the NFL, NBA,
Does
I'm right
not
there
matter.
with you. Like, look, players are going to gamble if they want to. There's websites. There's Tony on the corner. It's easily accessible. I'm with you.
For time constraints here, Bubba, the short answer for us is we both love it. Have no problem at all if the NFL were to end up in Vegas.
That may be our MVP moment of the week. It's brought to you by Sport Clips. You watch sports, we cut hair. It's perfect. Sport Clips, it's good to be a guy. All right, Ron Jaworski coming up top of the hour, and a ton to get into with Jaws. When he watches Cam Newton on tape, the development, what does he see? And Peyton Manning, going back to the last 2 games, how different has he looked on film compared to the guy that we saw early in this season? And will he have enough to go ahead and carry the Denver Broncos to a win and maybe have Peyton right off into the sunset? As he said, this could be his last rodeo. With Golic, I'm Ian Fitzsimmons in for Greeny. Michael.
Coach Love is back to transform a nation of hopeless men into hopeless romantics. And Sport Clips Haircuts has just the game plan for you, with a chance to win cool prizes, too. See the rules and enter at sportclips.com/Coach Love. No purchase necessary. U.S. only. 18 or older. Ends 2/5/16. Void where prohibited.
Turns off the staggered screen and fires a three, and he got it!
While the drama around Blake Griffin and the Clippers continues to grab headlines, the play on the court hasn't suffered.
Chris Paul, step back J. Oh, yeah, for Chris Paul.
Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, and the Clippers look to continue to roll when they face Jimmy Butler, Pau Gasol, and the Chicago Bulls.
Butler down court, throws it down with two hands.
Coverage begins Sunday at 2:30 Eastern on ABC and on ESPN Radio. The NBA on ESPN Radio. Jimmy Butler, Pau Gasol, and the Bulls head to L.A. to face Chris Paul and the Clippers.
Throws it down with two hands.
Coverage begins Sunday at 2:30 Eastern on ABC and on ESPN Radio.
Engine threats lurk around every corner. Stay ahead of gunk, corrosion, and wear with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. The best total engine protection you can get. Protect your car with a breakthrough in premium gasoline today.
The NBA on ESPN Radio. Jimmy Butler, Pau Gasol, and the Bulls head to L.A. to face Chris Paul and the Clippers.
Throws it down with two hands.
Coverage begins Sunday at 2:30 Eastern on ABC and on ESPN Radio. Welcome to Mike and Mike's Football Friday.
Russell Wilson apparently using Google to compliment his girlfriend. Love it or shove it.
All right, explain this one.
This is so fantastic, man.
Not always about Peyton Manning. It's about that offensive line.
Football Friday.
3 ACLs, a busted arm, surgery, 12 screws 2 weeks ago, and he's out on the field. He's laying everything on the line for this game. Not a huge fan of that. You want to say I'm culturally backwards because of that? Okay, but I'm never a big fan of that on Instagram.
Probably just say you're old.
Yeah, that you could say I'm old. What did we screw up, guys? Oh, what did we screw up over there? Everybody wanted to rip me. Which one is it, Stanzik?
It's time for Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
In case you couldn't tell, it's definitely Friday around here with Golic.
I don't know why I came back.
I'm not sure either, because it's hard to just look at you turning your neck. I'm Ian Fitzsimmons in for Greeny here on Mike and Mike, ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app, presented in part by Progressive Insurance. We bring in the Hall of Famer, Cris Carter. And CC, good to see you as always, man. This dude is banged up.
CC knows you got to play in pain every now and then. I mean, that's just the way it rolls, right?
Yes, I've been very, very fortunate, though.
You have in your career. You have been fortunate. What was the worst injury you had?
I broke my collarbone and missed 4 games, but besides that, I've been relatively injury-free.
You know, how much do you
want to bang that up?
Listen, there's no doubt you prepare very hard, and a lot of people do, though. There has to be an element of luck involved, too, right? When you can go through that amount of time and not be injured, not have some freaky kind of an accident, some guy hits you just right low when your leg plants or something. There has to be some element of, like, your preparation, without question, is incredible. But there has to be some element of that, isn't there?
I mean, I don't necessarily believe in luck, but you have to be fortunate. But I believe that there's certain people that made to be in collisions. There's certain people not made to be in collisions. I've been in a lot of collisions. I came out of them. Other people didn't come out of them. So, I mean, I think it's the type of athlete, too, and the type of position, and when do you start getting injured. I think because the overall fitness and the overall diet and stuff that I had, it really helped me throughout my career. And just watching Jerry Rice, how he had set the standard. So for me, I was able to train at a high level, eat the right way early on. So I believe that helped me, too.
Not to go off on a tangent a little bit here, but that's been one thing I found throughout my playing, and then even after that, is how much lifting has changed to used to lift everything, and now you lift really specific to position. But I think nutrition has become a monster part of, not forgetting just football, of professional sports, really the country, in the world, eating better. But looking at our little world of sports, that's been a huge shift in thought process.
Yes, I think the athletes realize that if you're trying to generate power, fuel, and most of that fuel comes from food, so the more power, the better energy you're going to have on the field, the better that you eat. And You know, eating and sleeping are a key part of being great athletically and being consistent from a practice standpoint and being available for your teammates. So, yes, nutrition has definitely changed over the last 20 years, and the overall training of athletes has changed.
Like for our generation, remember when bacon and eggs was a great breakfast? Now, bacon, not so much, man. I mean,
I
go ahead
still
and call
think
it
bacon and eggs is a great breakfast.
Oh, I'm with you, but I'm talking about health-wise, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, eat that bacon and eggs, and it'll make you big and strong. It's going to make you big, all right. I don't know how strong it's going to make you. Travis Kelce, before we get into Cam Newton and the game and everything else, Travis Kelce, tight end, Kansas City Chiefs, one of the best in the NFL, in case you're just tuning in, is now going to be on a reality dating series on E! with 50 women in a house.
Called Catching Kelce. There's going to be one woman from each state in the U.S., 50 eligible women living in a house trying to date him.
Your reaction, CC. If he's your teammate, how much just jabbing would you give him in the locker room?
This is my thing, man. I don't care, man. I think the guy should take advantage of the spotlight. You only have it for a short period of time. And I know Travis. He's a cool kid. Like, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised he limited to the United States.
but knowing locker rooms, he's going to get crushed in a locker room. You know, all that good-hearted fun that goes on.
Yeah, but, yeah, for guys that are married or something like that, there's going to be a lot of guys envious, though.
Oh, that's very true.
I mean, he's pretty good, too. I think he'll handle it pretty good.
Well, they obviously saw something in him that says, you know, he could be.
He has the charisma, man.
He does have that.
He's all
right.
He looks good. He's got some swag to him.
The other single guys may be saying, listen, there's 50 women there, and you're only going to end up with one. There's 49 others that may be.
Yeah, I ain't sure they're going to end up with him. I kind of know Travis. This might be a bait and switch thing.
Hey, if you're one of the single guys on the Jets, good, by the way, CC.
I think he's not getting set up on this one. He's from Ohio. He's no dummy.
If you're one of the single teammates, you're going, hey, man, can I come over?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hey, where's the house?
That's going to be something.
Have all kind of friends.
Yeah, he is. They
Big
said,
time.
Yeah, friends and family are going to help him along his journey. I bet they are.
Now, to the other offbeat story in the National Football League, Russell Wilson had to take to Google to come up with a lovely line for his beautiful girlfriend, Ciara. And he went to, not once but twice, a website that prepares lovely things for you to say to your girlfriend. Now, you can't be creative enough to come up with something good to say to that woman on your own? On your own?
Right.
What he came up with.
Let's do this then. Let's put you in Russell Wilson's spot, okay? You're on Twitter right now. You're dating Ciara. Give me some of your fine King's English. What would you be saying? Let's go.
Hey, man.
What would you be saying?
You're not putting me on the spot like that, baby.
Well, you act like it's easy.
You've got plenty of time.
Well, tell me what you be saying.
Give me the next break and let me tell you something. I mean,
we'll give you till the next break to come up with something.
Hey, what would you be saying?
Look, Coach, let me tell you something. This is, you're putting this out there, and you have plenty of time to think about it. Now, if it was my bride, I mean, let me tell you something. Darling, you are the love of my life. You're the most beautiful creature, and I outkick my
creature.
Thank you so much, baby. I mean, come on,
okay,
dude.
all right.
Goodness gracious.
You know what?
That was on the fly.
Do you know what?
I outkicked my coverage in marriage, baby.
Well, you
Big
did
time.
do that. You know what?
Big time.
You know what some people are saying about this, and it actually is somewhat true in this day and age. What's different from what he did than us going out and buying a card with a pre-written thing set on it?
Ooh, that's good.
Someone, I saw that in it because
I think that's the more traditional way.
Agreed, and this is the more now way of coming up with a line from somewhere. That's what we do with cards all the time.
I'm just trying to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, I hear you. But this is premeditated.
I just think you guys are disregarding the type of things that Ciara just didn't wake up this morning was cute. She has been that way for a while.
Yeah.
So there have been a lot of things said on her road in life. You better come up with something good. Oh, you're the best looking creature.
From the other side, and let me go from.
But I'm married with 2 kids, baby.
I understand.
My hay's in the barn.
Okay, so we're really in this now. Let me take it one step further. Would you rather, if you were going to hear something from your loved one, would you rather hear something in their own words, or would you rather have something, for lack of a better term, canned?
My wife just wants me to shed some weight, first of all. Let's just be honest.
Mr. Rose.
That's my pride, man.
You should just wake up every morning and just say, thanks, honey. Because
I do.
I mean,
believe me, man. Trust me on that one, Coach. Trust me on that one.
Man, you got to paint the house up, okay? Like, goodness gracious, bro, change the shutters.
He just gets up every morning and throws the same tarp over it. That's it, huh?
Man, I mean, she's not a creature.
Hey, man. Believe me, you are 100% correct on that.
Dilemma. See, I thought about the dilemma before that. You ask, oh, that's easy, man. She's beautiful. Just say anything. Okay.
Or don't say.
Just imagine all the stuff she's heard.
But Google, man. Come on now, Coach. Come on. But that's all right.
Well, Google was better than you.
Oh, no.
And the way you leaned in and looked at the camera, geez.
But I have to say, Googling a line is kind of like this age of sending out a card.
Could be.
Yeah.
Going old school. With Cris Carter, Mike Golic, I'm Ian Fitzsimmons, in for Greeny here on ESPN Radio, ESPN 2. Oh, look, man, once again, I outkick my coverage, no doubt about it. A guy who is not outkicking his coverage, man, he's one of the elite athletes on the planet, and that is Cam Newton. And he obviously has been in the news a ton, going back to his addressing. He was asked a question about his perception, and he had a remarkable answer. CC, when you heard what Cam Newton had to say 2 days ago, in a long, well-put response, what was your reaction?
I wasn't surprised. You know, there's a lot of truth to it. People don't want to hear the truth. I've been knowing Cam, too, since he got the offer for the University of Florida. So the first day Urban Meyer met him, and Cam is pretty much the same way. He's been that type of leader. So, no, I'm not surprised. I'm glad he spoke his mind, and that's the way he feels. It's his opinion. And I believe there's a lot of truth to it.
We've had, and I've been off for a couple of days, so the people that were in, some were saying it is partially racial. Others are saying it's more cultural than racial. Where do you think this stands as far as that's concerned?
Number one is you can't even really have a conversation about race because everyone gets all defensive and everything. So anytime you say something about race, you really can't get down to the nitty-gritty. Because people are defensive, and you have to be politically correct, you know. But at the end of the day, does race have something to do with it? I believe it does. Mm-hmm. Does culture have something to do with it? Of course. I mean, that is the culture of today. Look at not only the Cam Newton news, but look at all the other things that are in the news. This is their life. You know, this is a different generation of people. But I have no problems with Cam Newton, how he conducts himself and the way he plays on the field. I mean, you think if you look at NFL films, I got hundreds and hundreds of rolls of me catching the ball, doing like that first down. That's, you know, I played in the 80s, 90s, and I played in 3 different decades and in 2000. So, you know, no, that's not new. I think that Cam, and because of him, they've taken it to another level. But look at there's a lot of great players that have played in this league and been very, very energetic, demonstrative, and that's what you should be. Whatever your personality is, and he's fortunate that he's playing with a coach that's going to bring out his personality and let him be the best Cam that he can be, because that's what they're telling him in Carolina.
By the way, when I had them earlier this year in Week 15, I was told by several players of that very thing right there, that this is the year that they really let Cam be Cam and embraced it. Because, look, when he runs, the offensive coordinator, Mike Shula, he's holding his breath. Don't get hurt, you know. But they truly embraced this season of, look, man, go be you, and so far you have seen the best of Cam Newton. But let me ask you both this, and Golic, I'll start with you. How much of the celebrations and what he does after big plays, that culture aspect, is it more that, or is it more race? Because I think it's more culture than race.
I think for some, they go.
She's laughing at me.
Well, I think for some, it goes hand in hand.
Everyone always would say, "Oh, it's not race." Well, what is it?
I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying it's more culture.
I think it goes hand in hand. I really do. I think, as CC said, and I said earlier, I think it's partly both. To me, the way CC wasn't here when I said it. The way I looked at it was, I know the culture of today is certainly different from when I played, but my thought process early on with him was. And now, as I look back, I'm probably wrong in thinking that he was demonstrative since he stepped foot in the league. He's been demonstrative his whole life.
Yes.
I thought to myself, hold off on that until you've done something in the league. Because everybody compared it to, the discount double check and the fieriness of Tom Brady.
Right.
Well, when did those guys really start doing that? They were already well-established stars in the league. So that was my thought at first was, hold off on that until you've established yourself in the league. And then I thought, well, you know what? Now I'm thinking he was just being himself. And I think it rubbed some people the wrong way from that. He stepped in the league, hadn't proven himself, and was already being demonstrative. And the other thing that I love, and he says, I haven't changed. And as I said earlier as well, my core values at 23 are basically the same core values I have now. So I haven't changed, but I've changed. You know what I mean? So I think from a rookie year when he was sitting on the end of the bench pouting, to him being stand-up vocal leader, to also the improvements he's made on the field, and you can get into this better than I can on the offensive side, where the relationship he has now where he's changing routes on the fly because of the trust in him and his ability that he picked up everything the way he did and how much better he got on the field. I think he evolved as a more demonstrative and better leader that people will follow him, as well as becoming a better player as well. But initially that was my thought, was do something in the league before you do all that. And then I had to think, well, this is what he's been doing his whole life. This is what he's used to doing.
Well, I think all veteran players in the NFL, we think that there's a great legacy. Guys before us, what they did, we're very, very appreciative of that. So when young guys come into the league, we're like, yes, pay your dues.
Right.
Just like any other job. But once you get there, it's just a matter of what talent, what charisma, what are your gifts. I mean, you guys been doing this show for a long time. How you been doing it? Your freaking way.
Right.
All right? And that's the reason why, because you're the best Mike Golic can be.
Right.
All right? So Greeny is the same way. Ian, when you come here, you don't try to be Greeny. You try to be yourself. But a lot of times people sit back and they look at athletes and say, you know something? He should change. If I was in his position, I wouldn't do it that way. But they go about their life, doing their life how they want to.
Right.
And like they got it all together, too. Everyone out there, they got it all together, and they want to give suggestions of how people should live their life. When you get in the National Football League, you have to be yourself, because that's the only thing that will keep you around. When Deion Sanders was a young player, he was just like Cam Newton. Once every 20, 30 type year, we see these types of players. So they have the charisma, they have some showmanship, they enjoy their job, and they can do it. You know, and a lot of professionals have been on the sideline pouting early in their career because we didn't know about this game called pro football.
And by the way, on the Deion thing, man, when he was with the Falcons, San Francisco fans hated him. And then he becomes a Niner, and San Francisco fans loved him.
What about Randy Moss?
And then they're battling the Cowboys.
What about Randy Moss when he came into the league?
I
think he came in with some charisma saying something.
It's a great point that you're making, is everybody saying, oh, he should do it this way, but everybody else is living their life the way they want.
Yes.
I'm with you on that. That's why I look back.
Certain guys.
I guess so. So maybe I was speaking more like a veteran ball player and saying, wait, pay your dues before you do something like that. And I have to get out of that mentality and say, wait,
well,
that's his personality.
You've earned that because you've been in the National Football League. And what we want, we're protecting the image and the legacy of the league. So, yes, come in with some humility. But, man, if you're a star, baby, let's see it.
Let's go.
Man, if you got it, let's see it.
So let me take
and it's not bragging if you can do it.
Let me take you on the field and help us here, because I'm going to throw this out, and I'm not sure if it's going to be apples to apples. Is the way Cam has evolved to where Mike Shula, them working together, and what he does on the field now with his audibles, going to the line with a few plays, but also the ability to change routes because of the relationship he has with the receivers and the knowledge of this offense. So the comparison I'm going to make, was it anything like this with Randall Cunningham? He was our teammate in Philly, where we know in Philly he was basically told, look for one, look for two, run. Use your athletic ability. He blossomed as a quarterback in Minnesota.
Yes.
I mean, it's an MVP year there, and really became more of a quarterback there. So you saw him from both vantage points. Talk about that and that maturity level to get a quarterback in such tune at the line of scrimmage with his receivers.
I think that quarterbacks have seen the Randall Cunninghams, and they've seen the Michael Vicks, and they've seen that if you try to utilize your legs, your ceiling is a lot lower than the other quarterbacks. Now, Cam, we've never seen an athlete in the NFL. We've been playing football 95 years in the NFL. Never seen a quarterback like him. So how do we tried to watch him and try to put him in a box. But the Randall Cunningham analogy, and when he retired and came back, at that point he was ready to finally listen to people and say, you know something, I got to get my PhD in the pocket. And that's how he was MVP in 1999, led us to the 15-1 season, and then went on to play several years after that. So it is a great comparison. Cam got it earlier. And Cam is a much more dynamic and powerful athlete than even Randall Cunningham. Different than Michael Vick. Michael Vick was 4'3", but he was 5'11".
Right.
This 6'5", 250, man, it's real.
I loved Ryan Clark's story yesterday that said basically he called his wife. They played in a preseason game. It was actually Mike and Ryan were teammates up to the last preseason game in Pittsburgh, my son Mike. And Ryan said that was the first time he played against Cam Newton. He said he and Troy Polamalu were looking at him saying, are you kidding me? And the one time Cam ran, and Ryan said he was playing, and Ryan was saying, slide, baby, slide. And Cam slid, and Ryan said, I went over the top of him like I wanted to hit him. He said, but that dude, he said, I called my wife after that game and said, honey, find out what the benefits are because it's over. You know, if the quarterback's like this, I'm done. He is. He's a freak of nature.
When Cam was in high school, he was at Friday Night Lights at Florida. And I have taken some kids there. I was a high school coach at St. Thomas in Florida. Taking up, Urban Meyer was the head coach. So Urban had me up there speaking to the kids. And he was working out Cam Newton and Steven Garcia. He had one scholarship to offer a quarterback. They had Tebow at the time.
Right.
Tebow was already coming in. So Cam was approaching his senior year. And Steven Garcia went on to go to South Carolina and have a nice career there. He had long hair. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking at him. I was like, man, he looks like Jesus.
Yeah.
Because he had long hair. I did. And then we saw Cam Newton. And then Urban said, what do you think? I said, if he looks like Jesus, then he's God. Because Cam was ginormous. And they had all the music going. You've been at those workouts and everything.
Yeah.
And Cam was exactly like he is now. He didn't know most of these kids. But you see Cam Newton, and you see 30 kids behind him. Whatever Cam was doing, the kids were following him. He was just the big smile, the big personality, the leadership, the fun. So for me, from the first day, this is an extension of who he was as a kid. So for me, it's a joy to really see how he's handling it and how much more mature he even is. Because he is having an unbelievable time.
He has picked up that position.
What about the story about the kid who lost his father?
Right.
Last week's game. And Cam, everyone's talking about him giving the balls away. This little boy lost his dad. He ended up getting one of the footballs. Now, what do you think that made for him?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
NFC Championship, everyone's on Cam's back. But, yes, he changed that little boy's life forever. So I hope a lot more stories come out about that. I hope people really see the goodness in it, and I hope people realize that Cam Newton is once every 30 type, 40 years.
He's Hall of Famer Cris Carter with Mike Golic. I'm Ian Fitzsimmons in for Greeny. Mike and Mike will be live from San Francisco starting Wednesday from Fort Mason Center. Doors open at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
We're going to have some very special shows counting down to the Golden Game. By the way, I just got a text from my wife. Don't ever let CC bait you like that again.
She's a creature. Right, you got it good, man.
Sorry, honey.
You got it good. You call somebody a woman a creature and say she thinks it's romantic.
Don't you ever let him bait you like that again. You've embarrassed the family, man.
Great.
Coming up, Tim Legler in the studio. We'll go 4 wide.
Sorry,
but first, this from 1-800-Flowers.com.
Sending roses for any special occasion, like calling your wife a creature on air, or her birthday, your anniversary, or, of course, Valentine's makes a huge impression. Do what we do and what Ian's going to be doing. Wow her with a beautiful bouquet of roses from 1-800-Flowers.com. 1-800-Flowers, passionate about delivering the best selection and highest quality roses. 1-800-Flowers.com has a special limited time offer for our listeners and viewers, only available through today. Order a dozen assorted roses, get a vase, and a box of chocolates. Yes, all for just $29.99. That's a dozen roses, a vase, and chocolates. $29.99. That's 50% off the original price. Or double it to 2 dozen roses, a free vase, and a box of chocolates for just $10 more. But you have to order now because this offer ends today and only while supplies last. To do that, go to 1-800-Flowers.com from your desktop or your mobile device. Very, very convenient there. Click on the radio microphone in the upper right corner and enter Mike. That's 1-800-Flowers.com and enter Mike. Back after this on Mike and Mike.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
And it's the other end. Here's Lehman on the breakaway. Lehman, the skip pass goes to Nickens with a left-handed layup. It's good. And the Terps up by 6 with 1:09 to go.
Maryland, number 8 Maryland beats number 3 Iowa 74-68. Maryland's first win versus a ranked opponent this season. With Mike Golic, I'm Ian Fitzsimmons in for Greeny here on Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Number 23 Oregon takes down Arizona 83-75. That loss snaps the Wildcats' 49-game home win streak, longest in Division I hoop. And Andy Murray defeats Milos Raonic in 5 sets, advances to the Australian Open final to face Novak Djokovic Sunday, 3:30 a.m. Eastern on ESPN. SportsCenter is brought to you by 1-800-Flowers.com.
While we're with 1-800-Flowers, your Rose Authority for birthdays, anniversaries, and Valentines, our listeners can get great deals on roses she's going to love, starting at just $29.99. Order today or lock in early for Valentine's. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click on the microphone, and enter Mike.
Well, Hall of Famer Cris Carter is also here with us. Now we go forward. Why we bring in our NBA ESPN analyst, Tim Legler. Legs, always good to see you, man. And all-stars are out. There's always people that are going to say, this guy got snubbed, this guy got snubbed. And 2 guys that aren't on it for the first time since 1997. No Tim Duncan and no Dirk Nowitzki. Are both of those guys actually ecstatic that they're not having to go to Toronto?
At this stage of their career, yeah. If this was Duncan or Dirk, if they had made an announcement that they were done and they maybe want to do this one more time, to say goodbye to the fans, basically, I get that. And that's why I'm perfectly fine with Kobe starting in the game. And I think that's what we need to see for an all-time great player, one more time in that setting. So Dirk, Duncan, as far as we know, haven't made that announcement, haven't made that conclusion. So I think they'd rather have 4 days maybe playing golf or in the Bahamas or doing something to recharge that battery for the home stretch.
Are there any other snubs to you, a Damian Lillard, a Paul Gasol, any others that really kind of stand out? I mean, at this point, again, the starters are chosen by the fans, and then the reserves are chosen by the coaches. A coach who's coaching the game can't vote for his own guy, but these are some of the listed snubs.
Well, the 2 guys are Lillard and Powell. So look at both of their cases. Lillard, 24 points a game on a team that lost 4 starters around him, right, and he's kept them alive, basically, in the playoff hunt. The problem is if you start adding guys, then you have to be willing to say, like, who's coming off? Chris Paul, James Harden, and Klay Thompson are the 3 guards that you'd have to remove one of those guys, right? So you're not doing that. So although he has an argument on the year he's had, and statistically, truth of the matter is he's not going to crack that. I have a bigger issue with Powell. Like, that's the one guy. He has had one of the best years of his career, not just good relative to other forwards in the Eastern Conference. He's putting up the kind of numbers on a consistent basis that he put up toward the tail end in Memphis and his early years in L.A. That's how good he has been in his 15th season. And again, with some of the issues they've had, coaching change, they've had issues with Derrick Rose playing well, Jimmy Butler and Derrick Rose kind of having cohesion. Powell's been the constant on that team, and I feel strongly that Powell should be in this game. But again, you say who comes off? You'd probably look at Paul Millsap or Chris Bosh, and I'm not going to denigrate either one of those guys, but Powell's had equally as good a year as either one of them.
Right. I think in the East, guys aren't having career years.
Right.
They're all-stars, and they have been all-stars, so I think they were voted on compared to Powell and the impact that he's making. In the West is just stacked.
Loaded.
It's just loaded, so it's just hard to get in.
100%. And even a guy like Dirk, I know Mark Cuban was not happy about it. Dirk could care less, I think, really. But, 17 points a game. Who are you going to look at and take off for him? The only guy would be maybe LaMarcus Aldridge. The problem is, with the record that team has and what they have done, you have to have 2 players from the Spurs, right? So Kawhi is voted in as a starter. Parker doesn't really have those kind of numbers. So Aldridge and Dirk have had very similar years. And Dallas is solidly in the playoffs right now. But San Antonio has been so special. And Aldridge has taken major sacrifices to his touches, his opportunities, so his numbers aren't anything like they are typically for his career. So, Dirk has a case, but not a real strong one.
So as we go away from the All-Star game and look at the season so far, everybody was waiting for the big matchup first with Golden State and Cleveland, and we saw a 6-point game the first time and the blowout the second time in Cleveland. And then they said, okay, let's look for San Antonio and Golden State. No Tim Duncan in that one. Another blowout for Golden State. Do you see it like that? Do you see Golden State and then a big drop, or do you still have San Antonio right there? Not that Tim Duncan would have made up the difference in this particular game, but in what we're all looking forward to, a 7-game series of just how close they are.
I'll put San Antonio, looking them in the eye. Golden State's still slightly better. You'd have to favor them. What happened the other night in that game? Now, you don't have Duncan, and the biggest reason that's an issue is because your IQ and your ball movement and your poise, you lost a little bit of that more than anything else because San Antonio was playing at a manic pace offensively in their half court. And they were sloppy with the basketball, and they weren't taking care of it. And Golden State was so amped. And so you can even see Steph Curry came out in that game with that killer mentality that they wanted to put this thing away early, and they did. They're going to play 3 more times. They're going to end up playing each other in the Western Conference Finals. Go ahead and book it. You can book your travel now for those 2 cities because they're going to play. And I think San Antonio now, Greg Popovich is the best there is. He's going to do what he has to do to look at his team relative to the Warriors and try to close the gap in different areas and adjust lineups. And you're going to see, when they get there, a phenomenal series. They're going to look each other in the eye, but you'd have to favor Golden State just because of how special they've been.
And this may sound really just stupid, what I'm about to say.
No, not from you.
Not from me.
I never heard such things.
I've heard other people also say it, and it would never happen. But could Steph Curry not only be the MVP again, but also the most improved player in the NBA?
You could make a case, but that'll never happen. Like, they're never going to.
No, it won't happen. But when you watch him play, compared to what he did last year, he's even taken his game to another level this year.
I think the way he finished, though, last year, like if you took the last couple of months of last year, you say, okay, he was doing a lot of this stuff last year. Maybe not, what happened this year, he came out of the gate and just hit the league with a November that we've never seen. Even Michael Jordan
Kawhi Leonard the other night? Like what he did to Kawhi Leonard? That's the defensive player of the year, and he had him on roller skates.
His confidence level is so high right now. He really feels like he can do whatever he wants to people on the court. But he actually had a similar stretch a year ago. So I know that people say that. Typically, that's going to go to a guy that went from averaging 10 points to 17. And there are guys around the league you're going to find like that because that's a hard jump to make.
Yeah, I think the most improved is Jimmy Butler. You've been talking about him all year.
I have no issue with that whatsoever.
I mean, the number of games that he has gone over 50 compared to what he had coming into the season. I think Steph has improved. He's the best player in basketball. Now, from a historic, you're a great shooter. What are we looking at when we watch Golden State? Because for me, I've been watching basketball a long time. My brother played in the NBA. I've been a basketball fan. I haven't seen the display of shooting that they do with Golden State.
There never has been. Never has been. History league. I mean, you're like me, and I grew up. I started following the NBA around 1980, right about the time I was entering high school. Mm-hmm. So, you're going back 35 plus years. I've never seen anything even remotely like what they do to people, and they actually take all traditional, conventional defensive concepts that you're taught from the time you're in middle school through high school, college, and the pros, and they throw them out the window because you have to do everything completely differently than you've ever been taught against that team. And it really starts with the way you run back in transition defense. You've never been taught to run back and fan out toward the three-point line in transition defense. It's always been to the lane and then funnel out. You cannot do that against this team, and as a result, you're constantly overextended against them. And it's the one team that I've ever seen where you have to do that against. And when you do that, they have guys that can put it down, too. And they've got playmakers. And now they're going to get points in the paint. Because people think they're a finesse team, soft team, a lot of threes. They get as many points in the paint as any team in this league. It's because of how overextended your defense is trying to chase the basketball around that line. And you never seem to catch up to it. So, no, Chris, I've never seen anything like it. This is easily the best shooting duo we've ever had in the history of this league, and that's not living in the moment. I know what I'm watching, and I've never seen anything like it, and I don't know that we ever will again.
So we know the East. I'm with you. Book it, the San Antonio and Golden State conference finals, and then we see who wins. Golden State, you're right, will be favored, and there's going to be a team from the East, and there's probably going to be the Cavaliers. What's the biggest difference this Cavalier team will be from David Blatt coached to Tyronn Lue coach?
I don't know what it will be, but I'm going to tell you what it better be if Tyronn Lue wants to have a chance to do something that David Blatt couldn't do. Because I look at it like this right now. He actually is in a no-win situation from this standpoint. Best case, In my opinion, best case, they get back to the finals. They lose again, but he's got a full complement of players, which David Blatt didn't have. And worst case, maybe they don't make it to the finals if he doesn't correct this, which is what you're asking me. They have to stop relying so much on the dribble to score. When you look at LeBron and Kyrie and J.R. Smith, you're talking about three guys that get a predominance of their points off the bounce. San Antonio, Golden State do not play like that, and it's just not going to work against those teams. You have to make teams move defensively, and I think there are still times when Kyrie relies a little bit too much on his individual greatness. LeBron holds the ball a little bit too long, too many bounces before he ends up shooting the basketball, and it allows teams to lock in a little bit defensively. So Tehran talks about playing faster. Okay, I get that, but they're going to have to figure out in their half court, how do they promote better ball movement, and how do you make sure that Kevin Love is incorporated as a primary option sometimes and not a glorified spot-up role player, because he's better than that, and they need to incorporate him in that way. So those are the things he needs to make happen. Will he? No one knows. We don't know enough about Tyronn Lue as a head coach to know if he can do it, but that's what he has to do to close the gap with Golden State and San Antonio.
All guests here on Mike and Mike appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Tim, hang on a little bit. We want to get your thoughts on this. How much does the basketball actually matter? Hear what Iowa was complaining about after their loss to Maryland next. But first, a word from LegalZoom.
Take the time to get your life organized. LegalZoom's estate plan bundles. If you have a family, own assets, or property, you should have an estate plan.